Hello and welcome back to another video at Take Refuge 3D with me, Peter. Today I thought I'd do a different style of video, and if you're here for a tutorial, warning, this isn't one, but you can stick around, there might be a golden nugget in here, or not, there's only one way to find out. Generally I've been using my channel to make 3D tutorials and generally discuss 3D art. And while I'm a little bit off topic today, the main reason I started the channel in the first place was to talk into the void about the kind of things that when I start talking about them, people's eyes glaze over. Most people I know glaze over when I start talking about 3D, and the same goes for today's topic. They generally stare into middle distance and regret ever bringing it up with me. So while it's not specifically on 3D today, it is adjacent. Today we're going to talk about the hot and controversial topic of AI or machine learning. So deep learning and AI is now permeating through our lives every day. You can't avoid it. I've been keeping half an eye on it since around 2016 and probably a slightly keener eye for the last couple of years, I would say. I get most of my info from reading articles online and YouTube channels like 2-minute papers, so I can't claim to have a really deep understanding of the topic, but I do think I've got a decent grasp on it. So hold on to your paper cups and let's get into it. AI is all around us now. Starting a decade or so back, around the early 2010s, the integration of machine learning techniques into computer graphics has, by this point, revolutionized how we create, simulate, and render content. AI algorithms have been applied to all kinds of tasks like denoising, physics simulations, and more. This has led to more effective and visually stunning graphics in video games, movies, and other content. For example, right now I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm using NVIDIA's Deep Learning Super Sampling, or DLSS for short, to upsample the image quality I can see, so I can play at a higher resolution and with a better frame rate than otherwise would have been possible on my now aging graphics card. Without an AI training, this wouldn't have been possible. The same goes for things like ray tracing in games and render engines, which rely heavily on AI denoisers at this point. More controversially, and in the last couple of years, has been the rise of AI art platforms. Using diffusion model algorithms to make art, these platforms leverage neural networks and deep learning algorithms to generate art, music, and other forms of creative content. Enthusiasts and artists alike use these tools to explore new realms of creativity, muddying the lines between human and machine-generated art, or so they say. These platforms enable the production of intricate artwork, and this has been generating quite a hot discourse around the nature of creativity and authorship, and ultimately ownership itself. In itself, it's highly controversial as these companies, OpenAI, Midjourney, and many more that you will see in your Facebook ads, have been using big old naughty boy web crawlers to train their algorithms. And while the debate is ongoing, they may not have been entitled to legally use all of the artworks that they trained their models on. Naughty, naughty indeed. Now, my own feelings about IP, or intellectual property, are complex and conflicting. I have a fair amount of personal cognitive dissonance on this topic, so fair warning, my upcoming opinions are my own, and we don't need to agree, and we don't need to agree to get along. On one hand, I believe knowledge and information should be available to everyone, but I also believe in the right of an artist to protect their own creative works and be fairly rewarded. For example, I don't think pharmaceutical companies should be able to hold ransom life-saving remedies and only allow wealthy and those who can afford it to be cured. I think this is bad and fundamentally evil. I believe with the deepest of conviction that we need a better system for these kinds of life-saving, world-changing intellectual properties. But on the other hand, I believe very strongly that artists, especially individual artists, should have the agency to protect their own work and be rewarded it takes to become a talented artist. And as someone who's been putting in years of sacrifice and also playing around with AI art since before Midjourney came up and wowed the masses and started provoking mind-numbingly stupid Facebook and Reddit posts. I have been truly fascinated by this technology and I've loved watching it grow. But I will be keeping a keen eye on the upcoming legal disputes on this topic. The huge protest recently on ArtStation goes to show that a lot of artists have similar sentiments to me. While they might use machine learning in their day-to-day workflow, they certainly do not want other people using their property for financial gain without at least getting a cut. Now, moving on. One of the more significant breakthroughs in recent years, and just as controversial, is the development of the powerful language models. These models like GPT-3 and GPT-4 have been trained on vastly huge amounts of text data, and they can generate coherent and contextually relevant human-like text. They've got a wide-ranging applications from natural language understanding, analyzing your sentiment, content generation, and language translation. They've also shown a lot of potential in assisting with tasks like customer support, writing books, and coding, and whatever the hell else. Language models are controversial for the same reason as AI art generators, but also, and not to be dramatic or anything, but the risk they are perceived to pose to life, the universe, and everything. Don't panic though, we're not there yet, but we might be soon. Even I have used ChatGPT to create the bones of a plugin I made for Blender. I recently released this plugin and it's been relatively successful. It's for processing 3D models to get them ready for texturing and game engines. If you're a Blender user, go check out the link in the description. You can download it. There's a free version and a better version. Now, when I made this plugin, by no means did ChatGPT get it right. In fact, it got way more wrong than it did right. I spent hours and evenings and nights in the Blender documents trying to get my head around Python syntax and how to make a plugin and what code to put where, and it took me quite a while to get my head around it. But ChatGPT did help me, and in a way you wouldn't really expect, and I couldn't have imagined when I started the endeavor. Its wrong answers prompted me to learn something I would have had trouble on my own learning, and it also gave me clues on how I could fix the broken code with its wrong answers. In that moment I realized for myself how truly powerful a tool something like ChatGPT can be. By giving me shitty broken code and wrong answers, it prompted me to ask bigger questions and start to get my head around a coding language I had never tried out before. ChatGPT was for those few nights my muse, a non-sentient being playing a game of wrong answers only and guiding my bleary-eyed, semi-sentient 4 brain cells in the right direction. Amazing. So, where are we going with all of this? Basically, whether we like it or not, machine learning is here, and there are as many possibilities with this discussion as there are dead ends. So to keep it simple, we will stay firmly within the realms of the blacks and the whites. Are we moving towards an automated utopia where people have free time, agency, and get to enjoy freedom and pursue their dreams? Or are we heading into a future of AI-powered analytics that are heavily weaponized by governments, corporations, states, and criminal groups, resulting in things like predictive policing, even more discriminatory hiring practices, using AI deep learning to further exploit the economically vulnerable, armies of bots manipulating public opinion on social network? What do you think? As I see it, the latter is more likely at this stage, but why? So all of those things in the dark future I just mentioned are already happening around the world. The version of capitalism we live under isn't the same version we lived under 40 years ago, or even 20 years ago, or even just a decade ago. Too much has happened. The internet, free trade agreements, subscription models. It's a completely different system that has been changing incrementally for over a century. And it simply isn't equipped to deal with bad actors utilizing this technology in an exploitative way. Why? Because it's designed to aid them. We live in a system that demands economic growth, but has been funneling that wealth more and more into the hands of a minority. And if you think those people and institutions wielding this power and now this technology are going to say, here you go, world, here's autonomy, freedom, and choice. Of course they're not. These are opportunists, profiteers. You could even call them predators. Have you ever tried to unsubscribe from a certain audiobook subscription service? Well, then you know what I mean. The cost of convenience is servitude. And liberty, without any social or economic equity, is a tyranny in itself. The hardware that machine learning algorithms are trained on has really blossomed this year, with big microchip manufacturers releasing chipsets that can really train data on a scale that was impossible just a year ago. And this trend isn't dying down. This technology is extremely expensive, to the point that the only ones who will afford it, or even afford to rent it, are big companies, the Googles and Amazons of the world. This is creating a new shift in the power dynamics that's even worse than before, and not everybody sees it coming. These new data analytics and the drive for growth and market share will accelerate more than it has in the past 2 decades, more than it has even in the past 2 years. Sure, everyone in the first world can almost scrabble together enough money to buy a GPU capable of training a stable diffusion on pictures of your dad's dead dog. But can you afford a data center? A data center that can analyze thousands of petabytes, yes, that's petabytes, Google it, of data per minute. Data that you have been giving them for the past 2 decades, I might add. And then they can use that to target you with every single figurative bullet you have ever given them. Your dreams, hopes, and aspirations are simply weapons for these mega corporations. We all know by this point what targeted advertising is. Well, it's going to be on steroids now, and there's nothing you can do about it. Really, there's nothing a lot of us can do about it. But what I do implore is that everybody is aware of AI. They figure out and understand it. They tinker with it. They learn how to whisper to it. Because if somebody's running towards you and about to punch you in the face and you're watching, you might be able to dodge. So I apologize if you came here to watch a video about a 3D robot and you got a bleak dystopian vision from my frazzled, underslept brain instead. I apologize for that. Come back soon for more 3D content. That's still the main focus on this channel. But let me know if you like the odd video essay peppered in with your how to UV tutorials. Anyway, guys, that's for me for now. Sweet as. See you later.